Hello, lovely people. Welcome back to my channel. So today I am making okra stew. Okay, okra stew. So the end product is going to be like stew. It's not going to be soupy. It's not going to be running. Okay, so okra and stew. You make the stew, then you add your okra. That is what okra stew is. Okra soup. You make your soup, then you add your okra. That is what okra soup is. So yeah, so I'm going to be making this delicious stew, and please stay with me and see how I make this. Okay, so for our ingredients, I'm going to be using garden eggs or eggplants, and these are my okra or okras, however you call it, and my spinach. Okay, so first of all, I start by cutting my garden eggs or my eggplant. Okay, so I do that. I usually do this because when you cut your okra first and you cut your garden eggs, what it means is that your chopping board is going to be slippery and it's going to be difficult to cut it. That is me. One way of doing it is you cut your okra first, then what do? You wash your chopping board before you can fish. I would never do that. I don't like work. Work is not my thing. So this is how I cut my garden eggs. Okay, so I just cut it lengthwise, then I just slice them and then I dice them. You know, it's like just it can be annoying. Cutting these things can be exceedingly annoying. Let me tell you. Yeah, but if you want it to look good and taste good, you just have to cut it this way. So I cut everything and then goes into the um, saucepan. And I cut that one first because it's a bit firmer than the okra. And that I want that to be at the bottom of the saucepan so that when it's cooking, that bit will start cooking before it gets to the okra. That's why I do that. Okay. So it's time for the okra. And just as I did my okra soup, I cut them all into big chunks like that. So I, I first of all I cut off all the heads of the okra and then I align them, in the way that you see. Then I grab them like one handful and then I slice them. These okra, they are not like the ones we have back home in Ghana. These are very soft. They disintegrate very easily and you don't need to cut them so finely, right? But then if you want it more slimy, then it means that you have to cut it very, very finely. Okay, you have to cut it finely. So normally what I would do after cutting it this way, I will use my chopper to you know chop it into smaller pieces, like, the consistency will be much smaller. So here, I'm going to normally I do three different sizes, right? So this one, which is, like, a bit smaller, and another bit, which is much more like smoother, almost like I'm blending it. This is to get my okra slimy, okay? Because if you want your okra slimy, it means that you cut it finely, very small. That's when you get it all slimy. Otherwise, your okra will be a hot. The slime will not come, Papa. So if you make your okra soup, okra stew, and don't get the slime, bear in mind that it's because of, that, right? So I do that a few more times so that I don't have all of it are not that small. It's just to balance the textures, really. That's why I do that. So if you can see, this is a bit more smoother than the first one, and it's going to give me a lot of slime, and that is what I want. So once that is done, all that I need to do is to set this on fire. I'll add some water to it, as you can see here. Add water, a little bit of water, and the water shouldn't be a lot. If we are not making okra soup, we are making okra stew. If you make the water plenty at the end, your stew is going to be a bit watery. You're not going to get a stew that we need, like, like the consistency of stew is going to be soup. So you add a little bit water and some, here I'm adding some bicarbonate of soda or baking soda. You can also add saltpeter, which is also known as kanwu or kanwa. You can add that instead. I have that, but I normally go for this because this one is easier to reach. I just look over there and it's there. I just pick it up. So I'm adding some ginger here. So this is just frozen ginger, right? So here I have some pork that I have cut into pieces that I have steamed. I have a confession to make here. This is one of the most delicious thing you ever eat. Okay. So by the time I go to the cooking of the stew, making of the stew, that particular meat was finished. So just gone was my beef, my mushrooms, and my fish, and my crabs. And here are the other vegetables I'm going to be using. So I'm going to be using red pepper and 1 tomato and some scotch bonnet. Okay. I have my momoni, which is my salted fish, my red chopped onion, and then I have my spice cubes, the Ghana spice cubes, and then I have some more ginger, okay, and my regular spice cubes, okay. So this is the Ghana spice cube I'm showing you now. That one is called Wediaba in it, African calabash, nutmeg in that. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be doing, using for the stew. So I'll blend the red pepper and the tomatoes, because with okra stew or with any okra, if you add a lot of tomatoes, you just, not get your draw, or you not get your slime. It will just destroy the slime. So you have to be mindful of the tomatoes or the watery things you put in. And some fish also can cause that. Some particular fish can cause that. So you also have to be mindful of the kind of fish you put in. Like fresh fish would normally cut it. So if you're using fresh fish, there is a way of doing it to, retain the slime or the draw. So here my okra is nicely cooked, and I'm adding my spinach. I've turned off the heat now, because here the residual heat in here will cook the spinach to make it soft enough, so I don't have to worry about that, and I'll set that aside. So in my pot or my saucepan, I add some red oil. Okay, so we're using red oil here. You can use any oil, some whatever oil you want, red or whatever, even without oil. Okay, and here goes in my momoni and my, I didn't show this. This is actually my beef, salted beef, tolo beef. Okay, this is cured beef that I'm adding to add to the flavor. So you get that very authentic Ghanaian okra stew flavor. So I think I'm now putting in the more money. Yeah. So you get that flavor, the taste, and the aroma. Those, it's just to die for. Okay. So yeah, I'm going, because it's raw. This is raw. That's why it's going first there. The tolo beef is raw. That's why it goes in first. So I just fry it in the oil for a few minutes, and then I add my chopped onions. So by the time I cook, I add my blended tomato, red pepper, and all those things in, and it's ready for the okra to go in. The tolo beef will be cooked, so that's why it goes in first, right? So it gives it the flavor. I don't have to cook it, and I don't add any salt until I get to that stage. So here goes in my red pepper, my tomatoes, and my scotch bonnet that I've blended. Okay, so I just pour that in, and we're making stew basically, right? And I give it a stir, and what is going to be happening is I'll let it simmer. I'm adding in my spices, so my spice cubes and my ginger. I'm adding it in. I'm adding that in now, and then what is going to happen is I'll just cover it for it to simmer, for us to have that stew consistency. And as you can see, I'm adding in my stock from my beef that I showed earlier. Okay, so I'm adding the stock, and it will all cook nicely together. Okay, all the flavors from the meat will be retained in the stew, not losing anything at all. So now you see that it's the juices has reduced, okay, a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit, because I'll be adding. You'll find out in a moment that I'll be adding a lot of different protein, okay, different kinds of protein. So here goes in my crabs. Then I'll add my beef. I'll add a little pork that I ate all. I'll add my fish, my mushroom. So by the time I add all of it, it's like the pot is already full, and you can hardly find any stew. That's why I didn't let all the water evaporate. So I need that juices, that moisture from the stew to cook the rest of the things that I'm I'm bringing in, not to cook it, but like to help it simmer for all the taste in the stew to go into the meat as well. So, and also the meat and the fish and the crabs that I'm introducing have their own juices, and they will all, end up going into it. So right now you can see that it's like it is all meat. You can hardly find any stew in it. But don't worry. It will come out perfectly. All the flavors are there. It is concentrated in that stew. Trust me. So here I'm adding my mackerel that I have grilled myself. And yeah, so you see that this is becoming unbecoming. It's like only meat. Where's the stew? What's happening here? Like this is really concentrated. You can't even, taste, and it's got a lot of salt in it, because I'm adding salt, and you see it's very salty because you make it very concentrated, so that when you add the okra that you've cooked, which is like a whole pot of okra, you add it to this. You don't just get okra, you get a very good tasty okra, because this is what the taste, this is where the taste is. Okay, so as you can see, I'm adding my okra, and I'm going to give it a good stir, and you see that the color changes, and it is just perfect. The taste is to die for. I tell you, I said this okra stew. If you are a fan of okra stew and you are served with this okra stew, not to say I'm blowing my own horn, so, but no credit at no waka. So they said that when the truth is there, then you say it. That's what I just said in my local language. Literal translation. Try. So once you add your okra, your stew is ready. You don't need, because you've cooked. Don't forget you've cooked the okra. You don't need to let it sit on fire and kill all the nutrients in it. What am I talking about? You just serve it and it's ready. So yeah, our okra stew is ready, and it was so delicious, right? So thank you, my lovely people. Thank you for coming back. If you like what you see, please subscribe, and please like this video if you like what you've seen today. And I've added my banku, and this food is like, I can eat this food like every day. I'm not even an ewe. I eat food like I can eat it every day if it's available, right? So look at the house of the banku. I have a banku recipe also on my channel, so I'll link that as well. So if you want to know how to make this beautiful banku, yeah, you go there for all the tips as well. So this is, you see how the slime is there, but it is not really like drawy like the soup. So that is what okra stew is all about. Okra stew has got slime, but not too much slime. It can see that the slime is there, but it's not like a really drawy scissors cutting slime. Okay, it's just enough for you to know that udi nkruma froy, and my mom will call it nkruma froy. A nkruma froy. No, my mom like a kapim. That's why we say nkruma froy. And this was delicious. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.